Yo,
Thomas J. Camp.
what's happening?
Good morning, my man. How you doing?
I'm good.
Mate, do you have a couple of minutes to talk about what the hell is going on? What happened overnight with our Australian friend Oscar Piastri?
Yeah, I saw Tommy T's thing. What's happening? What happened there?
So, very interestingly, it seems like Alpine have completely lost the plot here in terms of being able to control this. At some point overnight here in Australia, Alpine put a press release out saying that they would be having Oscar Piastri and Esteban Ocon as their drivers for next year. And that was posted, let's have a look. That was posted 6 hours ago, right? And the caption is 2023 driver lineup confirmed, Esteban Ocon, handshake emoji, Oscar Piastri. After 4 years as part of the Renault and Alpine family, reserve driver Oscar Piastri is promoted to a race seat alongside Esteban Ocon starting from 2023. And I kid you not, you can't make this stuff up. Oscar Piastri then heads to social media 2 hours later and says, I understand that, without my agreement, Alpine F1 have put out a press release late this afternoon that I am driving for them next year. This is wrong, and I have not signed a contract with Alpine for 2023. I will not be driving for Alpine next year.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Right.
So what's happening here, I think, and this is merely speculation at this point. I mean, there's so many press reports going on around at the moment. From what I understand, there was a press conference done with Otmar Safnauer yesterday, Australian time, saying that there was no sort of doubt that Esteban Ocon would be paired with Oscar Piastri. Kind of, except maybe there was some kind of legal issue that he wasn't really sure. This is Otmar. And that he'd been trying to get in touch with Mark Webber, but he'd sent some messages and some emails, but they hadn't necessarily caught each other to actually have a conversation live. So what I think has happened is I think Mark has signed a contract with McLaren for Daniel's 2024 seat. And now there'll be conversations going on, I imagine, in Daniel's camp saying, yeah, sure, well, you're driving for McLaren next year, mate. No worries. That's fine. That's the contract, but you're not going to be extended past there. And so if I was Daniel Ricciardo, I'd be going, cool, well, I'm going to go back to Alpine, to a works team that is performing better than McLaren at this point, in a car that I can feel more comfortable with, to then hopefully get back on top, outperform Esteban Ocon like he's previously done, and then show himself to be the driver that he is, and to get away from an organisation in McLaren that has signed 17 drivers, it feels like, to only a handful of race seats across Indy and Formula One.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some legal issues going on.
Yeah, to say the least, mate.
Well, that would confirm that Herald Sun report that I sent you last night.
Yeah, exactly right. So what do you think for Daniel? What like, if you're advising DR right now, what would you say to him?
Go with your heart. Do what makes you happy. He left Alpine for a reason, right?
Yep. But he went to McLaren for a reason. Is that reason still a thing at McLaren, do you think?
Well, he's promised the world. He's promised the world by Zach Brown. And, I mean, they haven't given him what he wanted. They haven't given Lando what he wanted either. I think McLaren as an organisation probably behind closed doors have shafted him a bit, or they're trying to force his hand.
Yeah,
because they don't want to. How do I say it? They don't want to pay out his contract because they probably don't have the money to it. Think about how they refinanced just before he came, and they raised a whole lot of capital and sold off some stuff so that they could afford to have the budget in the race team to do what they wanted to do in order to get Danny Rick and pay him that, 21, 22 million bucks. So they don't have the money to pay him out. But I think they're trying to force his hand by saying, well, you're not driving with us in 2024, regardless of what happens next year. And we've signed Piastri. Well, which is a good sign. I mean, it's a good signing for him. But
this is all speculation at this point.
What happens for Piastri next year?
Well, that's right. He would continue in a reserve driver capacity, I imagine, with McLaren whilst that happens. So this is the thing that I think is worth mentioning at this point. We're talking about two Australians on the grid, one up and coming, one proven, also race winner, and had multiple podiums with the Renault F1 team before they became Alpine. The other, an absolute superstar in his own right, still hasn't performed in Formula One yet, to my knowledge. And I said this a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. I've never seen a driver who hasn't competed in a race series all year long have such high stocks like Oscar Piastri. And of course, he's exceptionally talented, but we don't know that yet in a Formula One sense. We know the gap between F2 and F1 is more significant than F3 to F2. But I think, Campy, the key takeaway here is we've got two Australians on the grid for next year, more than likely.
Well, that's a good thing for us, isn't it?
Let's rewind. Let's just recap what's happened, because it's only 2 days into the silly season, right? And there's only really one race seat that's been opened, and that's Aston Martin's been filled. And we've had this absolute ridiculousness happen shortly thereafter. We've had Seb retire late last week. We have Alonso announcing that he's going to Aston Martin on Monday morning, where even Otmar Safnauer didn't even know that was happening, FYI. Yeah. The only time that he found out was reading the press statement from on Twitter, I believe, from Aston Martin. And then they've turned around to say, oh, well, we're just going to get Oscar into the seat, but we're not quite sure exactly what we can do yet because there's legal issues. Have they lost a 2-time world champion and a potential future champion in 2 days, Campy?
Probably. And they lost Danny Rick. I mean, look at the 3 drivers they've lost, world-class drivers in the last couple of years. Realistically, what does that say about the organisation?
Yeah, well, that's it.
Is what Danny Rick said about it when he left true. But who cares? Who cares what it used to be like? Look where it's going and look where it's come from and look where it is at the moment. It's the 4th best grid on the team on the grid.
Good.
Thank you. The only way's up. Do I think that they're going to compete with Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull with a turbo hybrid engine? Probably not. I mean, if you still look at the race pace, there's still a minute and 10 seconds, minute 15 off, around Hungaroring on a track that's pretty tight. Get around a longer track like Spa and it'll be a lap,
But I wonder, Campy, is that the car or is that the driver's ability to extract pace from the car?
Well,
because, and I only say this because remember Danny Rick had a great showing at some tracks in that Alpine, in that Renault, didn't he? He got some podiums.
Yeah, they had a real good purple patch there for 7 or 8 races in his second year in the back half of the year, particularly when they were fighting for McLaren for 3rd, was it, in the championship or 4th? They were good. Maybe Danny Rick goes back there. He'll probably take a bit of a haircut on the salary, but I mean, we know he's going to dominate Ocon, so that's going to make him look good.
Let's just war game this for a second, Campy, okay? Daniel Ricciardo, I mean, he obviously is not having a great time at McLaren. That much is true, right? Okay.
Yeah.
It was funny that we immediately had an episode out of date, didn't we, after recording with Fernando? And then it's been out of date. And even that updated introduction is out of date where I said, oh, well, Oscar's going to be announced for Alpine. In the bin with you, James. What do you know? But let's lift. You're a menace. Let's war game Daniel Ricciardo.
Are you recording this?
Oh, yeah, mate. I've been recording this since the beginning. The interesting part for Daniel Ricciardo, though, right, is let's just war game what the next potential next 2 years looks like if he stays with McLaren, okay? There is no... This is his second year, right, with McLaren. He's not exactly been able to pick up probably, the pace that he wants to or the team want him to. We know that because of the fallout from Zach's comments of being honest and Daniel's comments being honest and all that sort of other stuff. If he continues with McLaren next year and he has an equally bad performing year, and it hasn't been great, it hasn't been good, hasn't been maybe necessarily terrible, but it's been bad, he doesn't really have much to stand on, does he, to go to another team? At that point, there's a couple of seats that are open, but there are younger drivers coming through. Maybe Oscar's now part of that mix, as well as a few others. If he goes back to Alpine for 2023, he makes this his last year with McLaren, goes, okay, that's it. I had an opportunity. It's just not working out. Maybe the car, we are developing it to go in a good direction, but it's not quite there yet. I would say that he should be talking to, and I'm sure this is happening anyway, be talking to Alpine right now saying, look, you give me a 3-year contract, I'll come back next year with an exit clause to Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull Racing if they come asking, but I'll give you 3 years and I'll vacate my McLaren seat so Oscar Piastri can potentially take that alongside Pato O'Ward and 17,000 other people who have been promised it by Zach Brown. And he goes back into a team that he knows. It's a new team principal at least. Maybe Cyril comes back. Who knows? I mean, wouldn't that be great? As his race engineer. Yeah, I want to come back, but I want Cyril Abitable as my race engineer. That would be outstanding. But you have then an ability to be with a works team that actually can get back towards the front because their power unit is actually integrated into the whole car. It's all designed as one whole package rather than what McLaren's issue was, which was, retrofitting that Mercedes into the Renault spot and, time after time. You know what I mean? They're not the works team. So that Mercedes power unit and the McLaren is never going to be as powerful as the works team. Give them 3 years in Alpine again, maybe sort his life out, maybe, take over Lewis Hamilton's seat when he goes, maybe go to Ferrari, maybe even go back to Red Bull for one last hurrah after Sergio Perez's contract is up. Who knows? But in order for him to get back to a team that is going to win races, I would suggest that Alpine is also, like Lando Norris did earlier this year, is also capable of getting podiums. I mean, it was a lucky one in Imola for Lando. But I would suggest that for Daniel, there'd be more likelihood of more frequent podiums with Alpine over the next 3 years.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't mind it in saying that. I'm acutely aware that everything I've said thus far about Daniel Rick and what he should do in his career, we've been wrong. We said he should get out of Red Bull. We weren't sure Renault was the greatest choice, but we said stay there. That was probably the one we got right. We said don't go to Ferrari, go to McLaren. Well, look where that ended up. We've got an egg on our face there. I'll tell you what his heart says. Because look, he's destined to be a world champion because he's got the talent, given the right car, and all he's asked for is the car. He's never had the car.
Yeah.
In reality, all he's asked for, give me the world championship winning car, and I'll win it. I don't think I've ever left a race on the table, a race win on the table. He said that with Ted the other week.
Yeah.
And no team's been able to give him that car. McLaren clearly doesn't want to give him that car at the moment. It looks like they're trying to force his hand. And that's speculation. But you've got to look at the reasoning behind the media that we're hearing at the moment. Now, it could just all be absolute garbage, but it seems like they're trying to force their hand to get Piastri into that seat next year. If I was Alpine, I would flog Fernando off right now, pay out his contract and say you're no longer needed, see you later. Might end up in court, but give Piastri the next 6 months, at least get something out of him.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting
And then
thought.
Keep him for 2023 and then move on to McLaren if he's got it. Who knows for 2024?
It's going to be...
Or does Danny Rick, does he throw his hands in the air and go, shit, and go somewhere else and go race an IndyCar or something? Where he's a big name in the States. They love him over there. Personality's huge. And he would step into a top driving car already. So we've got we've got a Kiwi performing over there pretty well.
Yep.
And wouldn't it be good to go and see Danny Rick smash Pato O'Ward on his, on his home turf and go, come on, mate, that's bloody good.
Yeah, look, I couldn't agree with you.
I mean, that would be good for a bit of arrogance. But then again, is IndyCar the same as Formula One? No, it's not. And he's a Formula One driver. He's an open wheel driver. And he's arguably the best 10 drivers in the world.
I don't think he's given up on F1 yet, mate. I think he'll go to IndyCar or NASCAR eventually, 100%. But this is like after he's made the decision to retire properly from Formula One, after he feels like he probably can't get anything more out of his time there, but also, what else does he, what else can he achieve with McLaren? Like here is the question, right? That you just have to be really serious about in answering as a driver. Who is the most likely to win a world championship, I should say, from a constructor's point of view in the next 5 years? Because that's probably how long he's got left competitively.
At the current rate, before these new regs come into effect in 2026, I think Red Bull and Max Verstappen in that car is unstoppable. I think they're too good, and they're probably going to win the next 3 or 4. And that would say, history would say that that's correct. Once a car gets on top, they stay there for a long time in the last, in our last decade and a half. And I would suggest that maybe a Ferrari or a Mercedes could put it together for 1 year and deliver a package that may work. So look, who knows, man?
But the answer, my point was,
I think Alpine's in that? No, absolutely not.
What about McLaren?
No, not with Lando. He hasn't even won a race yet.
But my point is, though, for Daniel, who is more likely out of Alpine and McLaren to put a package together that is going to win a world championship?
Alpine.
Okay, well, and I agree with you because, again, it comes back to the works team. Yeah, exactly. See, we're going to get a new T-shirt design saying "works team" because that's all that really matters at this point, mate. And
I've got zero faith in Zach Brown or McLaren at the moment.
Well,
and it means their word means shit. And who's the old McLaren dude that I can't stand? Whose name?
Ron Dennis.
I forget at the moment. Mate, maybe Zach Brown's the new Ron Dennis.
Ooh.
Bit of a dog.
Bit of a dog. Well, look, certainly Alpine's facilities aren't as cool as McLaren's. I can confirm. Well, I can't confirm the Alpine stuff, but certainly McLaren looks cool. But it's all well and good to look good. But it's been a significant period of time for both outfits. We have to say to have won a championship. Maybe they just need to bring Mika Hakkinen back, McLaren, for a year. Just teach all these kids a lesson, Mika.
Maybe you're right. Takuma Sato, bring him back.
Takuma Sato. Good. Well, that's a good place to leave it. Thanks, Campy. Yeah. This has been a good emergency podcast. No doubt it'll be out of. Well, look, we were going to have a break for a little bit, but I thought we should probably just address what's going on right now. So, listener, if you've enjoyed this, there you go. I'm not promising anything else between now and the 23rd of August. But
jump on Discord to put your opinions on there. We'd love to hear them.
There you go. Jump on to Discord. You can find the link in the description below. Have a great week, listener. You too, Campy. We'll see what falls out of this in the next 24 hours.
See you, mate. Thank you, sir. I was taking a dump when you first rang me.
Oh, good.